Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika, and welcome to my channel, where we mostly talk about art and art materials. And if you hear some sort of a weird buzzing sound in the distance, it's because my daughter is blow drying her hair with great timing, but I can't really wait much longer for filming because it's getting late at night. So I need to, if I'm going to film at all, it is going to be now. So there. Today is finally time for another vlog, a coloring, kind of a journal, which is probably a better name for it. But for some reason I keep calling it a vlog. I have some clips. I don't have many, or kind of, I haven't been really doing them for a long time because I've been off form for a while. I've been sick and kind of tired and off form, so I haven't really been doing much clip filming as I would need to, to do if I wanted to have like really nice varied vlog. But I have some clips which I hope will be of interest to you. There's bits and pieces, there's kind of like marker stuff. But what about life in general? A kind of little little talk before we get into the clips. Well, I've been getting a bit better, but at the same time, not that much better. Funnily enough, I was getting quite, kind of was improving, and then my daughter brought home another little virus. Not as bad now as the one that I had, but, I was still not feeling great again. Like I got really runny nose, and now I have it kind of irritated my rhinitis, so now I have my nose all like I keep sneezing really badly, and my nose is really runny, and my breathing isn't great. But sure, it's still better than what I was for a while, so things are improving slowly but steadily. And that's what we're going to do. Okay. And as you can see, I finally kind of remembered that, oh, October, Halloween. And the reason why I remembered it like that is that Halloween isn't really my holiday. It's not really in my kind of cultural background, or it wasn't a thing, let's say, when I grew up. So I still have to, it always takes me by surprise here. Although I live in Ireland, where, Halloween is essentially originated. But here, the celebrations, I know that a majority of my viewers would be from the States. And I know that, in your corner there, Halloween is really huge, and you go all out of the town, out to the town, sorry, not out of the town, with decorating and such. Whereas here, we do some decorating, but it used to be a bit more, it wasn't ever that much of a kind of a commercial holiday like it tends to be, I think, in States. And, as flashy as that, it was kind of more intimate, I guess. So there's celebrations here and now, people, of course, the kids go trick-or-treating, but my two are getting a bit big for trick-or-treating, although they still have their Halloween parties, and, they sometimes, my son, for longest time, he hates dressing up, or used to hate anyway. So he didn't really do much for Halloween for quite a while, but my daughter enjoyed going trick-or-treating. First, when they were small, yeah, I would always take them, and then as they got bigger, they would go with their friends, and both of them have some plans for Halloween, who has a party and who's dressing up. But, I don't have to be making the costumes like I used to, 10 o'clock in the evening before they went to bed. Somebody would tell you, oh, by the way, you need a fox costume by tomorrow. Then I'd be sitting up, up until 4 o'clock in the morning, gluing felt together. This actually happened. I'm not making it up. So, yeah, this is how life goes. But things have changed now, some bit. So that doesn't happen anymore, hopefully. Or if they want things like this, they just need to sit up and glue their stuff themselves. Because they're big people now. So there. Anyways, so yeah, I don't really do much Halloween. Therefore, I tend to forget about Halloween and Halloween coloring. And then suddenly it's like, oh, everybody is coloring witches and monsters and and then it kind of, oh, yeah. It's Halloween. I better do something thematic. Because although the funniest thing is that I enjoy coloring that sort of edgy or sometimes scary or quirky content all year long. Like, it doesn't need to be Halloween in my books to do that. So I am just putting, this book is, oh, I never showed you. This is, I don't even know if it's available anymore. Crook. I really liked their books. I thought their it's Dark Queen and King for some reason. Although I would say Queens and Kings, but okay, Queen and King, and I really like their art, or his or hers. I don't really know much about. I just sincerely hope that it's not AI. Though it feels a bit too kind of full of character to be AI. It doesn't have AI vibe. It's too kind of distinctive. So yeah, really like the line art and the edginess of it. And I've colored in these books fair bit. This one, I don't even remember if I've colored in this one much. Yeah, I kind of don't have many very successful works in this one. It's something always went wrong, when I did these pages. But I have a lot of kind of, I put a little bit of color onto the paper type of a, base here. What? I'm trying to even figure out what is it. Is it the Lamia? Is it what? Yeah, kind of weird. I actually like that one, although, it didn't really get many likes or anything, but I like how it came out. I like how pale I managed to get her. This is done with watercolors, so yeah, it's Japanese paper, this one, so it takes a lot compared to UK and US papers. Oh, and I have that one as a so yeah, I haven't really done great work here, but at the moment what I'm doing here is that I'm putting down skin base. And it's just one marker. It's E05, E05, which doesn't really make sense to me that it's E because it's green and E is Earth nomination in Ohuhu. But here we go, it's E. And it's called Pale Moss. And I'm using it as a base for the skin. So as you can see, I'm layering the shadows, you know, I'm getting them, building them up with just one marker. Okay, I don't want to get these bits too dark, but I want a bit more darkness here in the corners. Okay, but I do want a bit sharper shadows here. So you can see I'm just building them up. This is something you can do super easily with alcohol markers, that you just build up shadows with just one marker. You know, you don't, if it's a light marker, you can essentially keep going. And this one has fairly sharp shadows because it sits basically on the forehead. So the shadow doesn't need to be blended out very much. I actually made it even too far on your too big, the shadow. It should have been just a little one around it, but hey, nobody's perfect, least of all me. So I need to get these corners of the eyes. I also need to get the nose. In this instance, I am trying to keep the nose pretty straight. You know, there's a choice here to be made, you know, if you are building up nose like that. If I wanted to have a bit more cutesy or upturned nose, I would go over this area and create a bit of a bump here. But for her, I want this kind of a regal straight nose. So I'm not going to be, and I want really sharp cheekbones like this, but fairly sharp highlights here as well. So this is just a base, you know, I'm not going to be, I am not going to be leaving it green. I could easily, like Halloween, and it would actually be kind of fun if I did green skin, but this is not what I am planning to do here, so I'm going with my plan. Okay, and I want a little bit of a shadow around this, or, you know, kind of, and this necklace would also have shadow. So there. And yeah, it's been now a long chat and you've seen me building up shadows here. So maybe it's time that I switch you over to the clips. So hopefully you'll see something interesting or fun there. So happy watching. I have clearly gotten complacent and forgotten how much of a challenge it is to color with alcohol markers, or blend. Okay, color one thing, blending another thing. Blend with alcohol markers on Amazon paper. And by Amazon paper, I mean the Amazon paper that is used in UK and, from what I hear, US, where it's extra thin, extra flimsy, and extra soft somehow, but at the same time rough. It's like undescribable. It's like, where did they find that paper? Anyway, the markers just sink in and start spreading immediately. It's pretty much like putting your marker down onto the kitchen paper. You know, you put it down here, and that's what it does. It just starts immediately spreading, even if you touch it super little. So I already had to, I meant to do this image with no pencil, you know, I'm just going to do a little kind of alcohol marker page And I've already had to add pencils here because the face bled into the sky. And I didn't even, I didn't put heavy blends down or anything. I did put some blends, because it was supposed to be alcohol marker page. But I think I will need to maybe add a little bit more pencil than I anticipate. Anyway, I'm still trying. So these are I'm planning to do the shirt now. And these are the markers I am planning for the shirt. So they are R250, R270, and R280. And I am starting, because usually, if I would do it on any decent paper, I would kind of put down the lightest colors first, kind of to get the paper moist, to get the first layer of ink down, so it would blend better. But here, because of the excessive bleeding, I don't think I can do that. So I'm just going to go in with the darkest and see what happens. I can always go and fix things slightly afterwards. So this is R280, which is called current. But of course now Ohuhu is changing all the marker names as well. They're changing their numbering and naming system. So in new packages of markers that come, you will have the kind of old numbering, the markers would have the new numbering system, but the old numbers are kind of marked underneath in small print. Can I see if I have any little sweatshots to show how they're doing it. I know that I saw it somewhere. Oh yeah, here, these ones, for example. You can see, they have the new numbering system and the old number is down here. So you can still find, what those, but, I haven't really looked into the new system, how logical it is or how well it runs for me, how well it works for me. So I can't really say anything definitive about it. So here is the shirt. There's some creases on it. So I'm just going to put them down. This bit under the cuff is going to be shadow from the knee. Okay, and there's going to be shadow here. Okay, and the shadows there. I'm just essentially putting the darkest shadows down now, which is not how I would regularly probably go about it, but because of the paper, because it's so soft and everything just bleeds like mad. Okay. I don't know if I do maybe end up having to put some pencils on top as well because of this, but oh hell, it is what it is. I don't want that shirt to be very dark, but I do want some decent shadows in it. Okay. Okay, and okay. And now the next color is R270. And it's called what? Baby Blossoms. I have a feeling that they've changed the names of the markers as well in many cases. So I'm going over the edges. Here there's been a bleed into the color. So I'm just making a dip in the color. Now. And wherever there's shadow, I'm trying to soften it a bit. And I'm trying not to get too aggressive near the sky, or where, because the line art is pretty fine here, I do understand people who prefer to just use alcohol markers with the kind of a cute and cozy images, because they do have usually very thick line art. It's just I don't usually like very thick line art. It's just not my taste. So I prefer a bit more kind of a natural, bit more delicate line art like this, very sketchy style. Or if it's kind of thick, I can deal with the thicker line art if it's one of those books where there's kind of line variations. But if it's like uniformly the same thickness, thick line art, I just don't usually like it. So, okay. Now, here we go. And now we take the lightest one, which is R250, and it's called Antique Fuchsia. Okay. Fancy that. And once again, I wish that they would just have always, that gray stripe would always mark the brush. It is not the case. It just flips around. In some cases, it marks the brush. In some cases, it marks the fine tip. In some cases, it marks the soft chisel, in the soft chisel set. So that kind of, I don't find it very helpful. So anyways, I'm going to blend it out. And I might try to blend it out and then maybe give it a colorless blender. Mainly because I don't want to go into the sky, so I'm kind of trying to avoid bringing, actually here I have to because the blue went into it, but I'd like to, in some areas, just blend the marker out with colorless blender, possibly. I don't know yet how it's going to work for me, or if it's going to work for me. All right. Okay. Oh, it's going into the sky. Yeah. Okay. All right. See, I should have been more careful near here. I shouldn't have let it get so close to the line art. That's why I didn't want to, I wanted to do the edges with the colorless blender here, and I think I might do here. I don't know how I'm going to disguise it there. I might try to find maybe acrylic marker that is of similar color and go over it and try to kind of blend it out so it wouldn't be so obvious, but I'll deal with that later on. But now I need a colorless blender. Okay, I just took a random one which was nearby, which was, funny enough, Artex one. It doesn't really matter, they all work. Colorless blender, if you want to kind of soften the edges like this, which I'm doing here, pushing back and creating almost white effect, then it's best to work when it's still wet, the whole area is still wet, because if you let it dry and go in, then this is what happens. You get kind of the sharp edge in the sky. So it is going to be looking better, but it takes time, until everything starts working. See, you get this edge here as a darn. Okay. I let it dry too much before I went in with colorless blender, so now I have to go over the whole area with colorless blender. And you see how it's all bleeding. Yeah, I need to definitely go in with okay. Go in with acrylic marker or something in the sky later. Find some color that is close and disguise all that, because that does not look great. But I don't really want to put much pencil on it. I'll decide later on if I'm going to use pencil there or not. Maybe in here, you know, a little bit to tighten the folds of the fabric. So, and maybe we'll do the pants as well. And I'm trying to make them fairly simplistic and not once again get them to bleed. See, oh, that's just so annoying. Even if you do have experience with acrylic alcohol markers, if you try to do actual blends in these books, it's just almost impossible to control. If you just put the base down, that's easy enough. You basically just color and leave a tiny gap between the line and, you know, where the area you put your marker into. And then even if it bleeds, you know, it kind of bleeds until the line, not over the line in most cases. Okay, so let me see. What's the story here? I have, for the pants, fairly interesting color combination here. So it's Y11 and E210 and E280. And I might not need them all. I might just use these two. But once again, I'm going to go in with the darkest. I have to turn the image slightly. See, once again, I was taking, you know, going by the gray stripe and it did not help me. So I'm making these pants okay. And then next color was 210, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. I like that color of that blend. It's kind of interesting, kind of a cocky. I think it gives nice cocky pant effect. Okay. And I'm taking the lightest one, which is E280. There's not a huge jump between the last two, but there is a little bit. Yeah, the blending on this paper wasn't my best idea ever. But at least now I remembered to leave a gap here a little bit, so hopefully it won't go into the big, you know, kind of bleed into the other colors. And now I'm taking the darkest one again, which is Y11. And I'm not going to add other colors here, but I'm going to sharpen the shadows a bit. Just carefully. Yeah, just here. It pretty much self-blends because there's so much wetness down here now. See, and now we have khaki pants and this purplish shirt, and I, of course, now need to figure out how to save the sky. Okie doke. We'll figure it out. I finally now have full base down for this image, and now I realize that the shadows around the fireplace should be way stronger because there seems to be the light in the fireplace. The animals are kind of chilling on the rug here. There's a candle, so I think, there should be kind of a stronger, sharper shadows. But this pencil base, they've always done it pencils, it's Pablo pencils, and I have gone over them with alcohol marker, but even then, like, I tried to put pencil on top of it to deepen the shadows, and it doesn't really go on top very well. So what I decided to do is to add water-based marker on top of pencils. Now you see I have done it here in this area. It was pretty much the same kind of a depth as here, a little bit darker, yeah. So I put the water-based marker down there to kind of make the corners a bit darker, shadows sharper, and same I did here. So I thought, I might film for you a couple of places how I put them down and how I did with them. So here I want the top of the fireplace, for this area to have a bit sharper shadow here. But not really going super far. So I'm just putting that down. And I already have golden acrylic mark down as dots for that wallpaper. And I'm not trying to avoid it. Rather, I'm going to go over it. And if it, dulls these a little bit, that's actually good. That works very well for me. And I'm going upwards. And you can see immediately, how much deeper the shadow looks there. So you can go on top of, this is really the only way, if the pencil, probably other ways as well, but, if the pencil, you could put some, like spray workable fixative maybe on top to give a bit more tooth to the paper, or maybe satin glazing or something like this. But I really don't want to deal with that. And because there's already kind of waxy base down there, the fact that all the water-based stuff goes through this paper doesn't really matter anymore because the wax base is now protecting the back of the image a bit. But even if it does, there's so many leaks and so many things gone through on this paper already that it doesn't really matter anymore if there's a little bit more. So I'm just adding, like under the mirror, I'm not even washing it out much because the shadow underneath the mirror would be pretty sharp. It wouldn't be a wide shadow, but it would be kind of a strong shadow. And here I'm not going to put shadow because the light is going straight to the corner, but I need to pretty much make this area here pretty dark. There's not going to be much light here. And just kind of softening the edges here a bit. And it just brings the fireplace more forward and creates more of a effect of this kind of a candlelight. So I'm going to also put around the mirror very, very gently. It's again, because it's close to the wall, the shadow is going to be pretty small but sharp edged, so I don't really even need to wash it out much there. And here in the corner, tiny bit as well, not a huge amount, just emphasize it there and definitely soften the edge a bit, wash it out a bit. Just adding tiny bit of drama because it was looking a bit bland. So this cat would have a bit more of a shadow as well. And sharper shadow. So I'm trying to give it to her/him. I don't think I really need to gender it, but here we go. Since I started. Yeah. All right. And here underneath the tail as well. See how much it brought the cat forward. Oh. Yeah, as easy as that. So some saves can be made pretty fast. If, the tooth happens to be full, there you go. Quick and easy save. Fixing the bleed now. How am I going to go about it? So I found a marker color that was close to the sky color. It's not exactly the same, but it's close. So I found this color here, B689. It's one of the silver barrel ones. And what I'm doing here is that I am going over this area. First I've covered, already there was pencil down, luckily, but if there wasn't, I would put some pencil down there. And why would I put some pencil down there? Because it would give me a bit of a barrier between that very flimsy paper that doesn't like water at all and the water, because I need to kind of gently wash it out. So if it looks at the moment like there's harsh bits here, it's just because of the water, the darkness here. Once it dries up, it's going to be fine. So you can see here what I'm doing. I'm going to go next to the line art and I'm covering up, but I'm not just doing kind of a one stripe and just covering it up. I'm flicking it into the rest of the sky. And then I'm taking the water brush and very, very gently with minimal water, I'm softening the edge of it. And you do get, at the moment, this darker edge around it because it's still wet. And once it dries, it's going to be almost unnoticeable. So here again, here I'm leaving that cloud alone, but I'm going to put the marker next to the skin. Sorry, not the line here. My daughter is on the phone and she's enthusiastic about her phone call, so you can probably hear her chatting. She's chatting with her friends now. And here again, I'm bringing it, and it's very similar to the sky color, like it almost already blends in the actual sky. So I'm going to give it a tiny bit of softening. I'm not going overboard with water. I'm just touching it very gently. Okay, and I don't know if I'm going to risk it near the face as well. I might. So let me see. I can always wipe it off now. I'm going to turn it around because otherwise the angle wouldn't work for me. So let's see how this is going to work for me. Okay. So once again, it's on the pencil already. So the moisture from the water doesn't really get to the paper easily. So I'm just going to fix it here. But I'm not just leaving it as a stripe next to the line art. I'm kind of taking it more into the sky here to have a bit more smooth transition from the acrylic to the pencil or alcohol marker color. There you go. And once it dries, it's going to look pretty clean, and unless you go like super close and investigate it, you won't be able to see that there was a bleed there. So there, how to fix the bleeds my way. I thought I'd show how I do curly kind of a fur or hair with one water-based marker. You know, not that I always do it like this, but in this instance, for this image, I am totally just using one marker, which I might have chosen a bit too dark one. But hey, we'll see how this is going to work out for us. So basically, I am working in slightly dabby circular or half circular movements. And I'm leaving the texture in like this here. My camera tends to, the phone wants to lose the focus. But I'm making sure that I, around the cat, or you know, the object here, whatever it is, leave things pretty solid. So to bring that thing forward. So since this is pretty dark, where's my water brush? Here we go. I might kind of give some dabs with water at the top here. So it would, I don't want to go with the same kind of a dark marker up the very top. So I'm going up to here or so, and then I'm bringing the color upward with a water brush in dabbing motions. See, it just keeps losing the focus. And especially here, you know, on the head, remember to leave some gaps. You know, essentially dab the marker in, but leave some small gaps here and there. And this is just the first layer, okay? It's still wet, so I would usually kind of let it dry first. But now I'm going to go in, you know, where the areas overlap. And I'm adding the darkness there. And I'm basically now dotting it in. And here, creating darker areas. And here there's supposed to be the darker area. Here in the ears when they're behind the tuft of the hair at the top here. Oops, I'm once again out of focus. It's kind of hard to get my hand the way that it wouldn't come to the position that the camera decides, oh, this should be in focus instead of what is in background. If I get to the stage that I don't really want to add any more marker, eventually I might add tiny bit of pencil, like I've added here, just a teeny tiny bit of pencil to those shadow or darker areas. And it really has given more dimension to the llama. This orange is probably even kind of a better for showing than really dark blue and purple like I tried previously. So you can see I'm basically just scribbling the fur texture in all over, the ears as well. Not trying for even coverage in case, in fact, I'm trying to avoid even coverage, okay? And then I start adding more depth to the areas that would be overlapping something. So here underneath these bits, and here the ears, and I'm just dabbing it in, and you can see it's kind of here. Actually, it benefits you if you try to work a bit sloppy and fast, because then you get more natural results, as opposed to if you try to do it very neatly, then it doesn't look as nice. So a little bit more kind of a like shadow area underneath the bow as well. And you know, you could let it dry between the layers, but this paper I can pretty much work wet on wet as well, and things won't go through. So I just keep kind of adding layers quickly. And as I said already, I'm trying to be kind of fairly sloppy, and you can see as I add layers how the fur becomes more natural as well, because I'm dabbing in more texture. So I'm dabbing it into those overlap areas specifically, so there would be darker bits there, here, and I'm doing it all kind of circular, sloppy, or kind of just slightly curved movements. And then once it's dried, I will probably put a little bit pencil into those shadow areas, like it would be here. You can see like this. And of course the face is uncolored, you know, these I will do all the bodies of the fur different colors, but I will probably do the faces pretty much the same color to kind of unify them a bit. I haven't decided what color it's going to be, but it's probably going to be fairly neutral type of a color. I'm using the base that is already there probably as the color I'm going to be shading. I do not know if this is useful, but here goes. When I did the sky, I basically put down the blue first. I just did kind of a negative space of the blue around the clouds, made just random shapes of the clouds. And then I used, I think, two kind of light grays to put shadows, kind of random shadows into the clouds, and also colorless blender to kind of soften the edges a little bit. What I did not do, and I should have done as I was putting down the blue, is I should have gone over the edges of the clouds, at least on top, with colorless blender, as it was still wet. Because otherwise, you know, the sharp edges there, which, you know, don't look great, you can see here, like really sharp cloud edges, which obviously aren't looking good. And I tried to kind of soften them afterwards, but I forgot about, you know, how badly Amazon paper kind of reacts to those things. So instead of softening, I got this specifically even stronger kind of stripe of sky color around the clouds on the top. So what I'm doing now is essentially I'm softening the clouds, and all I need for this is white Prismacolor. In this instance, blunt actually works better than very sharp. And I'm just going over the top edges of the clouds. You know, for this you need, the sky needs to be, you know, not very dark, but even dark sky you can, you know, kind of do stuff. So I'm just softening, you know, taking a bit of the white into the sky as well, blending it out. And then I'm also, if I feel that the gray is kind of a bit harsh, or the blend isn't great, or it's just too dark, I'm also going over some bits of the gray here. I might give a bit of a softening at the bottom here as well, kind of a reflected light, and go into the sky. So you can see right away how much more natural the clouds become. And the same thing happens here with those smaller clouds. If you're doing clouds, it's good to remember that this is the distance, and this is the clouds that are actually closest to you. So the clouds near the horizon line, or, you know, nearer to the ground, are always going to look smaller and narrower. Well, in most cases anyway. And the B clouds are going to be higher in the sky. So this gives kind of a correct perspective. Okay, and I'm just going to do the tops of these clouds a bit as well. Don't know if I'm going to do the bottoms, but I'm definitely going to do the tops. And here as well, I'm just taking off. You can see as I'm going over that really harsh line, how immediately the clouds look better. And they're very easy to make like this, that sky. The only thing is that, you know, this paper just drinks ink. So if you are sparing your markers and being careful how much, you know, ink you're putting down, this is probably not the best thing to do. But this is a fairly small book, you know, it's one of those square format. It's like same size as your cozy coloring books would be. I think it might be 8-inch square. So, you know, it's not a huge area. And it still uses, as far as the blue ink goes, it still uses less ink than you would use if you actually try to do in a full background. You know, leaving gaps like this. Also, if there's a bit of an unevenness someplace in the sky, it doesn't really show as badly if you are doing kind of this style of a sky with the clouds, because of the variations. It is hard to do, you know, pure and complicated and very juicy alcohol marker blends on this paper, just because bleeding, nothing else really. It's very hard to, you know, you do need to get paper fairly kind of soaked with ink to get good blends. And the moment you get this paper even a little bit moist, it'll just spread all across the page. So I don't know if you can see now here, but doesn't that look better than it was? I'm just going to soften the edge here as well. See, you know, if you're going to compare this to this, these look more blurry and a bit more natural. So, you know, something, another little save, and it's just one pencil. Nothing else needed. I have to once again say that Japanese Amazon paper is just so much better. I have lost the count of layers I've added here. The reason I'm kind of doing it in this interesting way, firstly because I want interesting skin for Halloween, and second, I'm kind of working with only limited set. Those are Honolulu Plus markers. They're the ones with rubber nib, and I only have the 36 set with very limited colors. So I am experimenting here to see if I can get kind of good, deep, interesting skin with just these markers. And yeah, I can, if I use complementaries and kind of play with layers and glazing. So the reason why it looks weird there is because of something that is drawn behind and it's glowing through. So it kind of interferes a bit here. So essentially what is happening here is that I'm doing the skin with very, very limited color palette. And I gave green base so I could neutralize it with different kind of a pinkish and orangish tones, which I wasn't sure at first if it would work or not. This, you don't actually see what this skin will look eventually. This one will only be visible in about half an hour or so when everything has evaporated and it's not transparent anymore, because at the moment you can see this sword kind of through her skin. But I'm making sure that my blends are all right, these markers. But you can see how many layers I've added here. I'm still adding and nothing is bleeding. It's just fantastic. Especially, you saw during my video a clip about how I'm fixing bleeding and how I'm struggling with Amazon paper. That was Amazon UK paper, and here I just keep layering. Okay, now because the lightest color here, the lightest blending color is called Ballet Pink, and it's very pink, I'm going to glaze it over with which is called Lemon Chiffon, which is very, 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 very light, kind of a almost not the yellow, which will immediately give the skin much better hue. Just, the lightest parts of it, the ones that are super pink, I'm essentially changing the tone of them because I don't want them. In some instances I could leave them super pink, but at the moment I don't want very pink skin. This, all looks like super dark and super orange and weird at the moment. It will change once it dries. It will look different. I might, if I remember, take a photo in the morning and put on top of it to show you that this is not what it's going to be looking like. Okay, and now I'm going to add a bit of a glow from the eyes. Yeah, because I have this idea that the eyes glow a bit green, so I left the eyelids white around. I don't know if you can see it. I left them white before, and now I'm adding kind of a yellow green. Okay, And the lips. What am I going to do with the lips? What colors do I have? Since I've kept it, the face, all in one colorway, I might as well then keep going with it. So I'm going to take so tomato, it's a very kind of bright red, and maple, which is red brown, and okay, if I am to work, then the only pink I have here essentially is either the creamy peach, which is one of the main kind of skin blending colors, or the pastel like the ballet pink. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to go in with the maple first and draw the shape of the lips a bit, put some shadows down. Okay. Okay, and I might want to do the... Okay, and now I'm going to take the tomato, just tomato. Okay, I went over. I don't know how to fix this. Possibly with acrylic marker. I don't usually do that, but I got sloppy. I'll eventually fix it. I'm doing the top lip. Should I just make her top lip slightly bigger? I might do that. I might actually change the shape of the top lip. Okay. All right. And this is the ballet pink. I'd see if I can get it to blend out with this one to have pretty strong highlights here on the lip. Okay. Okay. Just changing the shape of those highlights a bit, making a bit more uneven. And I might have to change the shape of the top lip with acrylic marker or something because I went slightly over there. But I'll fix that eventually. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. It kept dragging towards the end again, or in some clips, but thank you for staying with me. Hoping you have loads of creative time. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. It helps my videos to get to more people. And bye bye.